My name is Hannah, and this is my year of less stuff. Hey y'all, I'm sitting down today to continue telling you about everything that I bought at Sephora in 2017. That was the year before my no-buy year and the year during which my problematic overspending on beauty products was arguably at its worst. I thought I was going to do this all in one video, but when I was filming the first video, which by the way was very low energy, I just finished editing that video this morning and I was like, Hannah, girl, why are you talking so slowly? I think I was just really tired and a little bit overwrought, maybe because of the subject matter and wanting to deliver it cleanly and concisely. I'm hoping that this one will be a little bit more high energy and maybe we can pick up the pace a little bit because I've gotten all of the moaning and groaning about my past behavior out of the way. Anyway, possibly partially due to the fact that I was talking so slowly in it, but mostly due to the fact that there's just so much to talk about. I made it through just to the end of March in that first video, and then I was like, I have got to stop because it was already like a 40-minute video, and I do think that that was a good call. So I'm going to pick up where I left off at the beginning of April and either make it through some of the rest of the year or all of the rest of the year in this video. We'll just see how much there is and how fast I can get through it. If you haven't seen the first video, I of course recommend watching that one first. This is basically just an extension of that one. And if you're completely new to my channel, welcome. I am Hannah. I love beautiful things, but not at the expense of my financial health. So I try to keep a balance on my channel between celebrating the value of beauty and not getting carried away and normalizing overspending. If that sounds good to you, please subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. The last order that we talked about in the video that preceded this one was on March 25th, and the next time I went to Sephora was on April 8th, so a little bit over a week. Actually, this might have been my longest gap. March 25th and then April 8th, that's like almost 2 weeks. I took almost a 2-week break from shopping at Sephora, and that I think is the longest break I had taken since the beginning of the year. It was also an extremely restrained order for me at that time. I once again went physically to Sephora Briarwood, the shop that was in the mall of Ann Arbor, Michigan, the town in which I was living at that time. And all I purchased was a pack of Shiseido facial cottons for $12. And I also acquired a Laura Mercier translucent loose setting powder as a point perk. So that was just a little $12 visit to Sephora on April 8th. The next order was an online order on April 16th. So about a week later, I placed an online order, again only for one thing. I placed this order for the Drunk Elephant Virgin Marula Antioxidant Face Oil, which is something that I would never, ever buy in my current iteration. I do love marula oil. I've actually been using a marula oil that was sent to me in PR. It's from Open Formula, which is a brand that's really similar to The Ordinary. Their marula oil is, I would say, perfectly serviceable, and I think it's less than $10 a bottle, similar to the one from The Ordinary. People say that this Drunk Elephant one is like, it's more refined, it soaks in faster and all of this stuff, but to me it's like marula oil does what marula oil does, and if it was just a difference of like $2 or $3, maybe I would spring for the fancier one, but at a difference of like multiple times, like 7 times. This one is 7 times more expensive than the one that I would buy if I ran out of marula oil and I decided to buy some for myself. I would buy the $10 bottle from The Ordinary. On this occasion, I spent $72 on 1 ounce of a kind of oil that is available widely at a fraction of the price. It's just bananas. But I really bought into it. I really bought into it. At that time, I wasn't thinking about ingredients. I wasn't thinking like it's just a single ingredient product. You're just buying marula oil. I was under the impression that because it was a really fancy brand, because it was Drunk Elephant, that there was something about that single ingredient that was 7 times more powerful, 7 times better, and worth 7 times more money than that exact same ingredient in another just single ingredient product from another brand. But it's just one ingredient and it's the same thing. But I wanted to believe it. I wanted to believe that I was getting something 7 times more magical than other similar stuff. And that was why I was willing to buy it. I was spending those $72 on the dream, the fantasy of the best of the best. And once again, into my online shopping cart went all of this other stuff. So a mascara point perk, a perfume sample, another perfume sample, an essence point perk, A fresh mask. It was probably the thing where you had a code that added it in, and then another scent sample. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items came in this box, and I had just purchased the one Drunk Elephant product, but I was already going strong with the spending by the middle of April. And then the next order that I placed was on April 18th. 2 days later. So I placed this order for the marula oil on April 16th. Then 2 days later, I placed another online order, another Sephora order. And in this order, oh goodness gracious, this was the moment that I bought that Surratt brush for $60. I talked about this recently in my video about the makeup that I've owned, and I also ended up talking about the brushes that I've owned since before I started my YouTube channel. I still have this Surratt brush, but what was I thinking buying it? First of all, I didn't really know myself when it came to brushes. I was pretty new to makeup brushes. I was still learning how to do eyeshadow. I was still experimenting and finding my style and trying out different techniques. The smartest thing for me to do, I think, would have been to go get a set of Wet n Wild or Real Techniques brushes, like an inexpensive set of drugstore brushes with a bunch of different shapes, and find out which ones I liked working with. Instead, I took influencers' word for it that this brush was great, and it had just been released, and people were like, wow, it's like got this awesome paintbrush shape that makes a really easy smoky eye, and it's so soft and beautiful. And I was like, wow, it must be really good if these people who know what they're talking about say that it's really good. I should spend $60 on it and get it. And I didn't even know what I was buying. And I didn't know how to use it, and I didn't know whether it would be applicable to the kind of eyeshadow I ever ended up enjoying doing. So that brush, I would say, was an extremely unwise purchase. However, I see that this order also includes what was probably one of the best purchases I've ever made from Sephora, and probably one of the best makeup purchases I've ever made, the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter in Sahara. And curiously, this is something that I hadn't heard any influencers talking about. I remember the Surratt brush, I was kind of drawn in because I had seen people talking about it, and I was like, oh, it's probably really good, even though I can't even conceive of what that means for a brush. But this, the Neo Highlighter, I found it from poking around by myself on the website, and it was just really intriguing to me. It seemed very fancy, and it seemed like it could be this really nice in-between finely milled powder that would add some glow and shimmer, but wouldn't be too heavy and wouldn't be too ostentatious. And the colors looked beautiful. I was just into it. I was like, I'll try this and I'll treat myself. I do remember feeling like it was a treat myself moment when I bought that Neo highlighter. I think the reason I remember it as that is that it ended up being a really amazing thing, and I ended up almost being surprised by how great it was, because when I purchased it, I felt like I was sort of just duping myself into treating myself. And then when it ended up being a good decision, I was surprised. That's how messed up my relationship was with deciding whether or not to buy things. On some level, I must have known that I was making unwise choices, because if I hadn't, then why would it have surprised me that I ended up liking it as much as I did? Anyway, you guys know that the Kevyn Aucoin Neo highlighter is a staple item for me. I use it almost every day to just bronze up my neck a little bit. It's supposed to be a highlighter, but the finely milled powder, the slight skin-like shimmer, and the peachy bronzish color that most of it is comprised of really works to just give my skin a slightly deeper tone. So I do use it often as a bronzer highlighter, but I also use it kind of like as an all-over powder. It's not shiny enough that it ends up looking weird or kind of like distorting the surface of my skin. And I do have it on today. I have it on my neck today, because without it, my neck would be very, very white, and there would be kind of like this stark line of my darker face against it. Also in this order were two replacement items, two items that at that time were staples for me. So one was the Hum Nutrition Daily Cleanse Clear Skin and Body Detox Supplement. I took this supplement for a really long time. I took it because it claimed to help with acne. I think it has zinc in it. These days, I would say if you want to take zinc to help with acne, just take a zinc supplement. They're like $8. Like that's the thing in this that was helping me with my acne, and I felt really dependent on it. But it was $25 basically a month. Like, it was hundreds of dollars a year to be taking this, and you really don't need to pay that much to take a zinc supplement to help with your acne. The other thing that I really liked about this Hum Nutrition supplement was that it was energizing. I would take it first thing in the morning. I would take one or two of them, and then I would feel like it had energized me. It felt like it was a kind of energy boost pill, and it was kind of billed as that too. It was like daily cleanse. If you start taking it, you'll feel so energized. Well, if you look at the ingredients, you'll see that there's matcha in it. You're like swallowing straight matcha powder. And of course that's energizing. I love the energy, the sort of calm, elevated energy that comes from matcha. But you don't have to pay $25 a month to take it as a supplement. You can just get some matcha powder and make yourself a matcha drink. But it took me a long time to come around to that. Again, I liked buying in to the feeling of something fancy and special. I liked feeling like I was buying like a secret key in this $25 designer supplement, when in fact I was really just buying, I think, a zinc and matcha supplement. And I'm so much happier having access to zinc and matcha just on my own for a much, much lower price these days. And then the other replacement product in this order was the Sunday Riley UFO oil. It's a salicylic acid oil. I am a big believer in salicylic acid to combat acne, and I love a product that delivers it in an oil because it makes it less likely that the salicylic acid will dry out your skin. So I purchased this product over and over and over again, used it for a long time, and I just haven't repurchased it in a while. It's $40 for half an ounce. I've come around to being a lot less precious about the delivery mechanisms of the various ingredients that I use, and it's just definitely dropped off the map for me, but it's not one that shocks me. I understand why I was so hooked on it back in the day. I also had a Dry Bar finishing spray, Point Perk, another mascara, Point Perk, and so it ended up being a pretty pricey order of 6 different items. That was on April 18th. And then on April 19th, I appear to have gone to Sephora Briarwood and purchased the Sunday Riley CEO Vitamin E Cleansing Oil. So Sunday Riley came out with a cleansing oil, and I was always on the hunt for like the best, fanciest, most exciting cleansing balm or cleansing oil. Of course, these days, if I didn't have a couple that I was trying to get through, I'd be buying the one from Simple. It's like $8, and it is what it sounds like, very, very simple and pretty clean. But of course, when this came out, $38, and it was from Sunday Riley, and I was so into Sunday Riley, I ran to Sephora and purchased it. And I ended up returning it because it burned my eyes. So that was another thing that I returned, and it was for a reason, but it was also for the reason I talked about in the other video of just trying to assuage my building guilt over spending so much money. On the same trip, I bought something that ended up being a serious bugaboo in my collection, meaning it lasted for years and years and I just couldn't get through it. It was the Caudalie grape water. Why did I get this? I just had this idea that maybe I would learn to enjoy spraying water on my face from an aerosol can, even though I didn't want to. And it turned out that I never wanted to. I think there was a time when I was trying to use it up. During my no-buy year, maybe I talked about it when I had started my YouTube channel, where I would wake up in the morning and sometimes just spray it on my face. But I think I ended up finally decluttering that before it was even quite empty, because I had had it for like 2 years and I was like, is this grape water still good? Probably not. That was a really dumb decision to buy that. $18 for a big 7-ounce aerosol can of water. And then the other 2 purchases that I made on this trip to Sephora Briarwood are things that are still in my collection. It's nice to see them here, little old friends. The NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Chantilly. I have owned it since April 19th of 2017. So for 3 years now, and it's still going strong. I used most of it within the first year or 2, and then my skin started clearing up, and I just have been kind of like crawling through to the finish line with it, and I might go ahead and declutter it sometime soon. I have been using it to conceal a couple of new blemishes lately, and every time I dip into it, I'm like, this is really old. The other product is another NARS Velvet Matte Lipstick Pencil. It is the one in the shade Famous Red. I talked about this one too in the video recently about the things that I still have that I've owned since before I started my channel. And it says it's a bright pink coral. I think of it as like a really, really bright, true fluorescent red. That is a great lip color. Maybe I'll put it on for my next video. So that was a solid like $120 or $130 visit to Sephora on April 19th. And then on April 20th, I appear to have placed another, oh my goodness, what? So I'm not sure if these records are good. I think that there are some things missing. The record here says that on April 20th, I placed an order from Sephora.com for 3 samples. So it says I got a sample of the Becca primer, a sample of a skin peel and a sample of a perfume. And I do think that you can go online and just place an order for with your points. Like, I think that that is a thing you can do, but I don't think that I did that. I think that there might be something missing from here that I bought. This is just like the history of the items I've bought rather than being my purchase history, because they've erased the purchase history from the website. And so I'm aware that it's not fully accurate. There are like these little weird inconsistencies like this. So who knows? But it looks like I actually did place another order from Sephora on the 20th for something. And then on the 22nd, I went to Sephora again. I went to Sephora Briarwood in person. I got another mini of the IGK Down and Dirty spray, so I was really into that. They appear to have had Sunday Riley Good Jeans as a point perk, and I got 4 of them, like 4 of these little Good Jeans, because I still really love Good Jeans. I think it's great. I still wouldn't buy it with my own money. And at that time, I think I was just trying to like get as much free Good Jeans as I possibly could. And I also purchased my my like makeup tote with the little lobsters all over it. It's from the Sephora collection. It's the shape that they call the Universalist. And that was a great purchase. I still have it. I still use it. I'm glad that I invested in a really cute, unique, highly functional makeup case for travel. Aha, but another thing that I did on this visit was to purchase the Fresh Sea Berry Skin Nutritional Cleansing Oil. So I bet that my reason for going back to Sephora so soon was to return the Sunday Riley oil. That's the story I'm reading into this information. So I think that I probably tried it, it stung my eyes, and 3 days later I went back to Sephora and I returned it and I purchased the one from Fresh, which I ended up really loving because it's primarily made out of grapeseed oil. And it turned out that I really loved cleansing my skin with grapeseed oil. And because of that, I repurchased this Fresh Sea Berry skin oil like over and over and over again, even though it's $43. It's close to $50 for just an oil, for mostly just for grapeseed oil that I was gonna just wash down the drain as my first cleanse. So many times I purchased it. I spent so many hundreds of dollars just on this Fresh Sea Berry grapeseed oil. And when I started looking for a dupe for it, I found the one from Simple, which is also primarily grapeseed oil. And it's basically the same thing at a serious fraction of the price. But it's funny to see, this must have been the first time I tried the Fresh oil, and then I became devoted to it. So that was April 22nd, and the next order is from Sephora.com, and it was placed on April 24th, but it was a gift. The entire order was a gift. It's here in my history, but I had it sent to a friend, and so all of this stuff was for her. I purchased the NARS Velvet Matte Lipstick Pencil in Dragon Red for her, or Dragon Girl, I'm sorry. It's kind of an iconic color. The NARS Pencil Sharpener, and then some sheet masks and stuff. It's not really that relevant because the purchase was a gift. So that was April. If you exclude the gift purchase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different times I shopped at Sephora in April of 2017. Out of control. Moving on to May. On May 5th, I placed another order from Sephora.com. Curiously, this April 5th order also doesn't contain anything that I purchased. I did get a little mini of NARS Orgasm as a 100-point perk, and then all of the rest of what was in the order were samples, or so it appears on this record. Maybe I placed an order just for the point perk, the NARS point perk, and just had them ship that stuff to me, just spending points. I don't really remember ever doing that, but I could see myself doing it. I could see my past self doing it, just being desperate to like have something coming in the mail and not wanting to spend money and just doing that. But what I do suspect has happened is that there's something missing. I think I might have bought something and it's just not here in the record. So the next purchase was on May 17th, but it was once again a gift. I selected some makeup for my sister as like a professional makeup starter kit because she was graduating from law school. So I sent this to her as a graduation gift, or like a congratulations gift. And it was like a brown Dior Show mascara, the NARS Velvet Matte Lipstick Pencil in Dolce Vita, which is like a really easy to wear nude color. And I just hoped that it might be some like really nice makeup that she wouldn't buy for herself that she would be able to wear in her professional capacity. We can skip over it because it was, again, it was for someone else. But May 22nd, I took myself physically to Sephora Briarwood once again, and I purchased the Givenchy Mr. Brow Groom Universal Brow Setter because of Kathleen Lights. I remember it so clearly. She was really into Givenchy Mr. Groom as being like the hardest hold, and I was always looking for a really, really great brow gel. And this became my holy grail brow gel for a long time. If you watched me during my no buy year, you'll remember me like actually even repurchasing this as a replacement. I felt like it was the only one. And it wasn't until I started thinking about cost per use and working out how much I was spending like per year on setting my brows with Givenchy brow gel that I went looking for something else. But that was $30. I also got Joe a lip balm from Jack Black on that visit. And I used 250 points on a pharmacy like super points set. My next visit to Sephora after that was just 5 days later on May 27th. I went to Sephora and I bought the Sephora Collection Rouge Lip Tint, which was a product that I really loved. I loved that product for a really long time and I used a lot of it. I got the brown one and it just made my lips look like brown and stained and luscious, like I'd been drinking a really, really dark red wine. I was super into that at that time. I also got 2 face masks on that visit. And on that same visit, I went to the JCPenney in the same mall and purchased the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz in dark brown. So that's the end of May. I did less shopping at Sephora in May than I had in April, probably because we were packing to move. I was like really busy. I didn't have time to go to Sephora, and I also probably didn't have time to like fantasize about a different version of myself, or maybe even I had like less motivation to fantasize about a different version of myself because we were in a moment of intense transition, like we were about to move. So there was plenty of fodder for my desire for change and for like improvement and fantasy. So that may have been what kept me down to just 3 purchases from Sephora in May, just 3 purchases. And then June was the month in which we moved. So that visit to Briarwood where I purchased the ABH Brow Wiz was probably my last. And indeed, the next order that I placed from Sephora.com is an order that I had shipped to our first apartment in LA. I remember it because the thing that I bought was the Dr. Dennis Gross Sheer Mineral SPF. And I think that I might have pledged to try to spend less money because when I was in that last year in Michigan, I was on fellowship from my graduate school program. So I was receiving a stipend to continue working on my writing, and we were preparing to move, but I had an income that was part of my graduate school fellowship. It was like part of the scholarship for my funding for my program. And when we moved to LA, I no longer had that. It was the end of my program, was the end of my fellowship. And so my finances had changed. And I remember when I placed this order, it was my first Sephora order in LA on June 3rd. And I remember feeling kind of guilty because I was like, oh, I'm going to try not to buy so much makeup because we only have the business to support us now. But I was still addicted. I still needed it. I was like craving placing an order. I needed new things. I needed a reason to get a bunch of samples and a bunch of point perks. And so I bought this expensive spray mineral sunscreen because I was like, we're in LA, I need to wear sunscreen on my body now. And so this is like a justified purchase because if I have this spray sunscreen, I'll be more likely to wear it. I was like, it's a health and safety thing. And so I placed the order for that sunscreen and then I threw into the cart 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little point perks and samples because I just wanted as much stuff as I could possibly grab. And then on June 6th, I appear to have gone to the Grove, which is a big outdoor shopping mall in LA. And I went to the Sephora there. It was probably my first visit to the Sephora at the Grove. And I repurchased the Drunk Elephant marula oil just a couple of months later, maybe like 1 or 1.5 months later or something. And I probably once again was making excuses to myself, like this is a repurchase, it's a staple item, it's something I need, it's part of my skincare routine, it's a health thing. And that was what allowed me to do it, even though I was in theory trying to restrain myself from spending too much. And then on June 8th, I placed an order from Sephora.com for the Hum Nutrition cleanse pills again. So I was like chain buying them, pretty much one bottle a month, $25 a month, so bananas. June 9th, I placed another order from Sephora.com on June 9th during this time when I was purportedly trying not to spend so much. But it was all, this one appears to also be all point perks. I don't know, maybe you guys can help me out. Do things go missing from this part of the Sephora history, or was I just buying stuff with my point perks? I mean, obviously no one could know that except me, and I can't remember. But this is notable. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items, point perks and samples in this order. And it's notable because one of them was a deluxe sample of the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Complexion Primer, which I ended up falling in love with and buying a full size of. So that was June 9th. I went to the Grove again on June 17th. So I was kind of really just picking up where I'd left off with my old habits of going in person to my Sephora a couple of times a month, if not 3 or 4 times a month, and then placing online orders in between. I think that by this time, my resolve was probably starting to weaken, and I was probably starting to just delusionally make up reasons why it wasn't a problem to keep buying all of these things that I wanted to buy. Although this was a pretty skincare heavy visit, and I think that during that time when I was like, oh, I have to restrain myself, it was easier for me to convince myself to buy expensive skincare than makeup, because skincare felt like it was a staple and makeup felt like it was an indulgence. So I went and I purchased some acne dots from Peter Thomas Roth for $32, another bottle of the Makeup raw sauce, another bottle of the fresh Sea Berry Skin Nutritional Cleansing Oil, which means that I was going through it at a rate of every 2 months. The other bottle I'd purchased at the end of April, and I was purchasing this bottle at the end of June. So that was $43 every 2 months that I had locked myself into by committing to using that product. I also repurchased the Sunday Riley UFO oil on that visit to Sephora. So I was like treating myself by going out to Sephora, but restraining myself by only buying what I considered to be these very important, incredibly expensive skincare products. That order was definitely over $100. And then on July 4th, so something like 10 or 12 days later, I went to another big Galleria shopping area in LA, the Glendale Galleria, and this was a really dumb purchase. I bought the Peter Thomas Roth Hydrogel under eye patches, even though I had already gotten really into the golden snail one. So there are like these K-Beauty under eye patches that I had been buying from Amazon, I think, that were like $9, $10 for a jar of 50. And then they would just last and last and last forever. And this Peter Thomas Roth product is the same exact thing. It's like, I think about 30. No, it says it right here. 30 treatments of under eye gel patches for $52. Why did I do that when I already had some that I really loved that really worked for me? I did it because part of me believed that if these were $50, they must be much, much better. I was like, they must have something in them. They must know something. They must have some ingredient that makes it worth $50. And it was worth it to me to try them to see if they were like 5 times better than the ones that I was spending $10 on. But they weren't. They were worse. I ended up preferring the $10 ones, and really, really struggling to get through using these Peter Thomas Roth ones because I didn't like them. I also got 2 sheet masks on that visit, and I got the Bumble and Bumble Hairdresser's Invisible Dry Oil Finishing Spray, which is another really dumb purchase for me because it's designed to make hair smooth and silky, and I don't want my hair to be smooth and silky. I want it to be rough and tumble. I think I purchased it because I saw Mariah Leonard talking about it and saying that it was what she used. And I just didn't put it together that her hair is really different from mine, and she's also going for a really different look from mine. Why? Why did I look at someone with smooth, silky, glossy hair who's always trying to make it smoother and silkier? She held up this bottle and was like, this is what I use. And I never want my hair to look like that. It's just not flattering to me. It looks great on her. It's not flattering to me. But I looked at her saying that and I was like, I'm going to get that too because she's cool. So that was July 4th. And then on July 14th, 10 days later, good job, Hannah. That was 10 days seems to be like my limit. Like I was really exercising a lot of restraint by going 10 days. before purchasing a bunch of things from Sephora.com. So I placed another online order. Gosh, though, yet again, I just spent very little money and acquired a ton of little things. So I got the tiniest bottle of L'Occitane cleansing shower oil, the like almond shower oil, which I'm sure again that I wanted because I remember Kathleen Lights talking about it and saying how much she loved it. I do love a shower oil, but the one that we've been using is a really big bottle of Bioderma. It's like several times the size of this and it lasts forever. And it only costs something like $20, and I think that that's fantastic. That's a great shower oil. I'm sure that this one's great too. It's just massively expensive. But I got the tiny 2-ounce bottle of it for $9 to try it out. And I also bought the IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara, which was my favorite mascara at that time, for $25. And then everything else was point perks, once again. 5 point perks along with those 2 things. I would often do this. I would like bide my time and wait until there were like a bunch of samples and a bunch of point perks that I really wanted. And then I would talk myself into getting something like a replacement mascara or a new shower oil. I would talk myself into it being a reasonable thing so that I could pile in all of the other stuff. The next order that I placed was also online, and it was on July 26th. So yeah, like another 10 days. So I was sort of spreading it out. I can see that I was doing a little bit better than I had been doing when we still lived in Michigan. So I had some resolve that I was trying to act on, but it just wasn't fully doing the job, right? I wasn't really cutting the cord. I didn't do that. I didn't really cut the cord until my no-buy year. Actually, when it comes to my relationship with buying things from Sephora, ordering things to get point perks, replacing my expensive skincare, I didn't really cut the cord on that until towards the end of my no-buy year, because I didn't realize what a problem it was until I started adding up just my skincare replacements. So this was just like my faint attempt. On July 26th, I purchased the Sunday Riley Power Couples Duo kit. So it was like a bottle of Good Genes and a bottle of the retinol Luna oil. I felt like it was a really good choice for me, a really good deal. I like the Luna oil. I love Good Genes, and I was like, I can spend $82 and then I'll have them for a little while and they'll help my skin. I'm sure that they did help my skin. They're great products, but I can just see the writing on the wall in this order history. I was just looking for something to buy, and I was buying skincare because it felt like it was something that I could make excuses for in my mind. It didn't feel like it was too frivolous. Really, all of it was just me buying stuff to buy stuff to feed the monster. And in this order, I put 3 samples as well. So it was like 4 things. So then we leap to August 14th. Again, I've gone at this point almost 20 days, which was a lot for me. That might have been the longest break since the beginning of the year, was between my last July order and my first August order. So this was another online order. I got the IGK texturizing shampoo. That might have been the first time I actually encountered that. And I also purchased the Clinique Fresh Pressed Daily Booster with vitamin C. I love that thing. I still love it. I feel like my vitamin C serum from Timeless is as powerful as this, but at this time, the Clinique Fresh Pressed, where you mix the L-ascorbic acid powder into the serum at the beginning and then you use it for 2 weeks, that always felt like it really invigorated my skin and really helped calm down my acne. It's like a really good, strong vitamin C treatment. I have heard of it irritating people's skin, so if you have sensitive skin, look out for that. And I just don't feel the need to spend $20 on a kit like that when I feel like the one that I'm using daily is doing the same job. But at the time, I understand why I purchased it. Goodness gracious though, the other thing that I put into this order was a $100 bottle of perfume. It was commodity whiskey. I had gotten a sample of it somewhere and I loved it, and so I just decided to buy. I remember this actually really pretty well. I remember knowing that I was trying not to buy too much and wanting a new perfume so badly, something that would sort of be my LA scent. Like I was building this fantasy around living in a new place and starting a new phase of my life, and I just desperately wanted a scent to mark that. And I decided on this one, and the other things in the order are all like staple shampoo, skincare, along with like 7 or 8 little samples of things. And then I got this perfume and I used it for maybe 3 or 4 days, and then I decided that it didn't have enough lasting power. I liked the way that it smelled when I first sprayed it, but it just didn't have very much tenacity throughout the day, and my guilt got the better of me for having spent $100 on a perfume that I ended up thinking didn't really perform, and I returned it. I'm guessing that I returned it in person. No. Yes, I returned it in person probably on August 23rd, but before that, on August 19th, which was just a couple of days later, I placed another online order. So I'm like back to my old ways here. And in this online order, I purchased the Clinique Fresh Pressed 7-day system. What's going on here? I don't know. I seem to have purchased a smaller size and then a bigger size of the same product, but just 5 days apart in online orders. I don't know why I did that. Actually, looking at the list, I think I do know why I did it. It's because the other things in this order, this online order on the 19th, are just 2 sheet masks and a mini of the Hourglass Veil Primer. And then there are all of these point perks and samples. So I was doing that thing where I was trying to add things into my cart to make it feel like it was worth it to place an order. Like I was trying to get it up to place an order, and I was like, oh, this Clinique thing that I really like, even though I already have one or I already have one coming in the mail, if I add it in, it like makes the order more beefy and it makes it like worth it. I think that's probably why I did that. I was trying to trick myself into buying stuff even though there wasn't really anything that I really truly wanted. And then the next order after that is one that I made in person. I went physically to a Sephora in LA. I probably took the perfume and returned it on this occasion. And I purchased a bottle of the Makeup Raw Sauce, again, a skincare replacement, and a bottle of the Fresh Sea Berry Skin Nutrition Cleansing Oil. That was also a replacement. I was buying both of them like clockwork, and you can see how it adds up. It's like every 2 months. Every 2 months, another $50, another $100 on these, what I consider to be really important skincare items. I can see it really clearly going through this list, but I didn't see it clearly until my no-buy year clarified it for me. So that shopping trip on August 23rd was my last Sephora purchase in August of that year. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop there, and we can cover September, October, November, and December in the final video in this series. And in that video, I'll also kind of add up some numbers and just generally talk about this whole experience and reflect at large on what this year was like and what it means now looking back on it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's relentless in a very particular way. And I did enjoy editing the first one. I do understand it. I mean, it's kind of like morbidly fascinating, but it's a lot. It's gonna be really, really crazy to like go through it all and look at the statistics at the end of the third video. I hope you'll keep an eye out for that and join me for that one. I appreciate you being here, and I hope that you will remember to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.